Sullivan, but instead, I want to go to the colloquy you had with some of your colleagues on the Senate floor a couple of weeks ago. I disagree with Senator Tuberville's decision to put holds on career military, and it's just a disastrous impact on the lives of career military down to colonel and lieutenant colonel and commander and lieutenant commander level. Is anything going on? Is it going to change?
Hey, Hugh, good morning. And by the way, first, let me just begin by thanking you for the great job you did at the presidential debate, getting foreign policy, China fully involved in the discussion with our candidates is super important. So, you did a really important op-ed a few months ago on this issue, and I always begin by saying I'm as pro-life as they come, kind of like what you said in your op-ed.
Yep.
Fully oppose the Biden DOD abortion policy that they announced, fully have been fighting them, probably more than any other senator, for politicizing our military, focusing on things like climate change and everything from their career, not their career people, they're civilians. They're civilian appointees, not the 1- and 2-star generals. So, look, there's no one who's been working this issue harder than me with Senator Tuberville, right? I've been working with him for months. And one thing we did do, didn't get a lot of press, but, the Democrats have been playing with this as well. Schumer wouldn't bring up any members of the Joint Chiefs for confirmation. The only reason we have a full slate of confirmed members of the Joint Chiefs is because Senator Tuberville and I forced Schumer to do it with a parliamentarian tactic that he had to accept. So the Dems are as bad as anybody on this. But to your point, Senator Tuberville's tactic right now, it's the wrong tactic, which is a blanket hold. We're going to hit over 450 1-, 2-, 3-, and 4-star generals by the end of this week. 450, Hugh. Wrong timing, one of the most dangerous times that we've had, since World War II. We all know that. And wrong target. That's the key thing. Putting holds on people, flag officers, as we call them, 1-, 2-, 3-, and 4-star generals and admirals, who have nothing to do with this. Nothing. And even if they get confirmed, won't have any power to change the policy. It's hurting readiness, but I'll tell you this, it's really hurting morale. We have a real crisis already in the military with regard to recruiting and retention, and this is fully exacerbating this. I have been talking, I'm a senior colonel in the Marines. This is my peer group, the 1- and 2-star generals. I know a lot of these men and women. There is already beginning an exodus of people saying, you know what, I've done 5, 6, 7 deployments. My family's, sacrificed, and now I'm being stuck and punished for something I had nothing to do with. And so people are starting to punch out, right? At the most dangerous time, we're going to lose a generation of the most combat experienced officers since World War II. The first guy. So what we did, and I feel very strongly about this, and trust me, I'm getting a lot of incoming on it, but, it's just frustrating as hell. What we did, 4 senators, Graham, Ernst, Senator Young. What do we have in common? We're all very pro-life, super pro-life. But we're also veterans, right? We know what sacrifice is. We know these people. The first guy that Senator Tuberville said, hey, I'll be fine with bringing up these votes one by one. Okay. So we said, we'll do it. We got all night, 450. We'll bring them up one by one, talk about their bios, talk about what's going on. First one I brought up was a Marine colonel selected for brigadier general. And this guy's resume, Hugh, you couldn't believe it. Silver Star winner, multi-hour combat heroism, Purple Heart recipient, Navy and Marine Corps combination medal with a combat distinguishing device. This is one of the most heroic guys I've seen. So I said, let's bring him up. Let's promote him right now to brigadier general. Senator Tuberville, I object. Why are we objecting to American heroes? Why are we doing that?
Well, Senator, I gotta ask this question, and I don't know Senator Tuberville. I don't know if he has military in his life, but detailers work with lieutenant colonels and colonels and lieutenant commanders and commanders for years to put them in the right job so that they get the right experience so they can promote 5 years from now. And they work with the 1-stars to get them into the right billets as 2-stars and the 2-stars into 3-stars. So we're not talking about 450 people. We're talking about thousands because it's actually a much bigger universe where the detailers are trying to arrange for people to get the career experience they need to be the leaders that we must have at times of war, and their families. And they're
100%.
all frozen. Does he
100%.
understand this?
Look, your point about the families is so important. And, there was this thing, I'm sure you're aware of it, most Americans aren't. It's called the Fat Leonard scandal. That was a big corruption
what a disaster
in the Navy. Okay, it's self-inflicted. You unfortunately had some senior Navy officers who were part of this corruption scheme. It wiped out a generation of admirals and those kind of people with experience that you're just talking about in the Pacific. We're still recovering from this. Some people are saying just what's happening right now, to your point, it's going to take 2 to 3 years to recover. Let me give you another example of it's not just heroes, right? I mean, they're all heroes. When we were on the floor 2 weeks ago trying to get these confirmed one by one, said, hey, you said you'd do it one by one. We'll bring each one of these ones up one by one. We were reading their bios. One of the things that occurred to me, Hugh, was there were so many of these admirals, 1 and 2 and 3-star admirals, who had incredible submarine experience. Now, to your point, it takes decades to train and bring up an American military Navy officer who understands how to operate and tactically and strategically deploy submarines. You can't do that in 1 or 2 or even 10 or 20 years. It takes 30 years to do that. And guess who's scared shitless? I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to say that.
Yeah, we'll bleep that out.
Guess who's scared to death of American subs? The communist dictator Xi Jinping.
That's why I asked about the fleet at the debate. And Chris Christie had the right answer. It's the submarine force that will deter and, if necessarily, defeat the Chi-Coms when they come across the Taiwan Strait.
100%. And guess you can't believe how many 2- and 3-star admirals with incredible submarine experience who right now are being held, our most important strategic players. And Xi Jinping is over there going, I can't believe my luck. I'm scared to death of these guys. And they're holding them. And as you know, there's also in the military, at a certain point, you have a rule. You're up or you're out.
Exactly.
If you don't get promoted within a certain amount of time, and you can get an extension to it, but we're starting to bump up against this time on some people, then you get drummed out of the military. So again, I'm as pro-life as they come. We're taking a lot of incoming. But I'm also pro-military. And one of the things that distinguishes Republicans from Democrats, certainly, is our focus on military readiness, but also our focus on military personnel and their families. We care about them. That's a core attribute of being a Republican in the United States.
Can I underscore something,
Senate.
Senator? I am pro-life, and I believe that the Susan B. Anthony Fund would give me a 100% rating like they give you a 100% rating. I'm absolutely. It is not pro-life to take a lieutenant commander or a lieutenant colonel or colonel who has small children and put them in limbo and keep them between schools and not deliver them at the hospital they're supposed to be delivered at and send their or extend the deployments of their mothers or fathers much longer than they need to be to cover for billets that cannot be filled because of a hold. It is, and they can't do anything about it. This has nothing to do. So our friends say, well, Biden and Austin can change the policy. They can, but they won't. It is not pro-life to hold hostages.
Well, look, here's what I've been asked. And again, I've been working with Senator Tuberville. What's been my approach to this? A, to work with them, right? B, to force Schumer to bring up, high-level noms because he was not doing that. So we've been doing that. Like I said, the only reason we have fully confirmed members of the Joint Chiefs is because Senator Tuberville and I forced Schumer to do this with what's called a cloture petition, which he hated, but we shoved it down his throat. Okay, so that's important. But what's the way forward? All right, if we think it's illegal, they're DOD abortion a policy, then let's sue.
Yes.
Okay, so we were working last night. Even last night, I won't, I don't want to get too far out ahead of my skis here, but with Senator Tuberville on a strategy. All right, let's sue. Okay, then this is one that I think is really important. Let's switch. Let's switch hostages. Let's switch the holds. What do I mean? Right now, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy is up for confirmation. He's the number 3 guy in the Pentagon. He is a civilian. He matters to Biden and the Biden administration. Let's move the holds off the men and women in the military, have nothing to do with this policy, and put the hold on the civilian DOD official who's actually in charge of the policy, who could change it in a heartbeat. So that's what I've been encouraging. Switch the holds. Get it off. And by the way, the other thing about this hold that makes no sense, we care way more about, we Republicans, than the military than they do. You never take a hostage that you care about more than your opponent. And so they're like, shit, we don't care about the military, so let them hold it. Let's put the hold on the guy they care about, which is the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. So I'm doing that, and I've asked Senator Tuberville to join me. I'm leading this effort to try to get a lawsuit filed soon. So there's a lot of other ways we can continue to fight this, but we have to recognize that we're not just hurting individual families. This is a strategic risk to the force because we're going to lose a generation of the most combat experienced military officers that we've had since World War II.
And we're torturing their families. We're torturing their family. And I got to tell you, an off-ramp, that's a great off-ramp. Make it bigger if you have to. Holds for every political appointee in every department. That's fine with me. Because it isn't Biden administration. Just make it, but not career military.
Well, look, one more thing on this. And, on the Republican side, there's certain people who are now kind of taken to going after the military, right? And I'm like, wait, what are you guys doing? Of course, the civilians, Biden has been woke as heck. But as I said, we're attacking career officers now, that they're not useful, that they're not important. These are the guys, the 1- and 2-star generals and admirals, these are the guys kicking in doors in Fallujah 20 years ago, Hugh. They're the best we have in America.
Thank you, Senator Sullivan. Keep fighting the good fight. I hope you persuade Senator Tuberville. I hope you persuade him. Thank you so much.